We've been waiting 4 years for today. Africa have waited forever. The 2010 World Cup has kicked off. Bafana against Mexico. Uruguay against France. It's the FIFA World Cup tonight.
People of the world, welcome to Soccer City, a stadium inspired by the calabash, a traditional African drinking vessel and symbol of friendship and hospitality.
I love Desmond Tutu. Finally, it is here. The World Cup has indeed kicked off. I'm James Sharman beside Christian Jack and Sid 60. A nice new set, nice new co-hosts. It's going to be a lot of fun for the next 30-odd days. Boys, you ready? You pumped? What?
Very ready, James. It's a privilege and an honor to spend every night with you guys talking about the World Cup. It's finally here. The games are here we can talk about. We've been previewing them for seemingly ever, and now we've got 2 games to talk about and numerous games every day. It's going to be great.
And you finally get on the couches with us.
I'm sorry, that's a prize? I thought that was a punishment.
It's good to have you aboard.
Oh, I'm glad to be here.
But...
Man, I've been ready for this since Grosso hit the penalty in Berlin for Italy 4 years ago. Let's go. Let's get into this, James. No more dilly-dallying.
Well, how it works is every night, 10 p.m. Eastern, apart from Mondays where there'll be a slightly later show, but we'll have extensive highlights, in-depth analysis, brand new segments, previews, the works. But let's get right to it then. At 4 p.m. South Africa time today, the host Bafana took to the field at the Soccer City Stadium in Johannesburg to make history. But its journey through a Group A, which includes France, Uruguay and Mexico, will not be easy. In fact, home field might be the only edge South Africa has. Now, historically, no home team has ever lost an opening match, so Mexico knew it had to overcome history to ruin its host day. Dave Woods has the call.
The FIFA World Cup is in South Africa.
We as a country, we are humbled by this honor.
And what an atmosphere inside Soccer City. Pienaar, the man at the middle, the man who is the heartbeat of this South African side, and the man who knows how much this means to his nation. It's Africa's first World Cup, and it's the host South Africa who helped get us underway against the Mexican side. Swallow with a challenge, but it's Mexico have it back again. Aguirre with a dangerous ball in, and Koundé tries to get to it, and it's forced wide off the boot of Dos Santos. Early chance for Mexico. Here it comes, dinked in, and a decent ball to... It's a goal kick. Looks like it's going to be Steven Pienaar who's going to take this. As Pienaar waits and measures his shot. This is by a considerable distance. And it has given Mexico the chance to break here. Dos Santos on the left foot will drive it, and not too far away. This is Vela looking for the man in the middle, and he might just have found him here. Blocked away Franco's effort by Thumbelin Koundé, who did well to spread himself wide. And here comes Vela on that left foot, trying to curl one maybe, but try to work it out. It's Dos Santos from the angle, and the deflection takes it wide. Swing it high as well, the touch is offside. Here's offside. There was a touch, I think, by Dos Santos, and when Vela took it, a defender on the line, but the goalkeeper was ahead of him. So despite the complaints, it will not stand. As Dos Santos prepares to fire one in, it's a decent ball too, and another opportunity. And it is the end of the half, but neither side able to make a breakthrough. Home crowd advantage is going to give the South Africans such a big boost. Chance here to break at pace. Modisa turning it through. It's on here now. The goalkeeper's beaten, and South Africa have their first goal. Siphiwe Tshabalala, a glorious moment. The whole stadium is on its feet. A whole nation will rejoice. How do Mexico respond? Oh, the defending, not good! And Kune with a wonderful save again. And Kune, who saved his side a couple of times, that was going in. Collected by Medice, and again the counter-attack is on here. Pinar playing it through, they've got numbers here, and Paler on the right foot, wanted it himself, the deflection almost falls for Tico Medesa. In South Africa working out neatly to this right-hand side, and Gakahu, elbows and knees pumping, goes charging inside that half, and Paler's taking it down well, and Paler just under a bit of pressure from Rodriguez. But over the head of Guardado, who does have time and space in which to recover. And then a decent ball in with three waiting, surely it has to be, and it is! The equaliser from Marquez. South African hearts are broken. What happens next? So into the final minute plus stoppage time, but here's an opportunity again from Paler. Oh, he's hit the post. What a finish that would have been. He'd been the goalkeeper, but he hits the upright. Mexico survives. The referee has blown his full-time whistle. So lively opening to this World Cup, very nearly the glorious start that South Africa wanted.
What a great way to start the World Cup. A wonderful game, 1-1 the final. The Bafana have never advanced past the opening round yet. As for Mexico, winless in their last 4 World Cup games. So fellas, a wonderful start to the World Cup. KJ, Mexico started so well, lots of chances. Bafana looked lacking, quite frankly, in the first half an hour in particular. Came back and they just rallied from that home support. The atmosphere, you could feel it, even over here, thousands of miles away. But what a performance.
Yeah, it was an interesting game of contrasting styles and contrasting halves as well. You know, you look at the counter-attacking of South Africa, which provided the opening goal, and what a wonderful goal it was. You know, World Cup's all about images. I know you did a blog this week about images, James, and what a wonderful image we have already to start this tournament. You know, when we look back, no one is ever going to forget this image, you know, and a great way to start the tournament. You know, sometimes, you know, opening games in tournaments can be a cagey affair, quite dull. This was a proud game for this tournament, and hopefully it's what we need to see going forward. And that's an absolutely fantastic strike, by the way, by Shabalala there. You know, the technique that he provides for that, running with it as well. And they exposed Mexico's clinical weakness. You know, Mexico played a back 3 with wing-backs who were very attacking-minded going forward, and that was the problem. They allowed some space in behind the wing-backs, and that allowed South Africa to take advantage.
How about Rafa Marquez coming back? I mean, the talisman, the captain, he's been there before so many times. He was one of Barcelona's great defenders. He's still there now, not perhaps a starter often in La Liga, but however, what a performance. And he came up big when it counted, but again, it was slack marking.
It was, but I mean, pardon me, you go back to the game where Mexico got busted out of World Cup 2006, the legendary game against Argentina in the round of 16. Who scored the goal for Mexico? Wasn't any of their quote-unquote high-profile strikers. It's Rafa Marquez. It's essentially a central defender who is not only doing everything possible in the back to keep things level, he's the only guy you can now depend on if you're Mexican soccer, at least for now, to go forward and get you a massive goal like you just saw there to level things. I mean, if I'm Guillermo Franco and Cuauhtemoc Blanco and Carlos Vela and some of these other strikers who have reputations, they need to start stepping up, or Mexico will never make that jump from round of 16 / quarterfinal team. It ain't going to happen.
No, and many people picked them to win this group, and I think after today's evidence, there's some significant weaknesses on both these sides that France and Uruguay might be, you know, licking their chops in a little bit here.
Yeah. But maybe the last 16 quarters is enough for Mexico. Maybe that's, you know, the aspirations, and that's the limit of their ceiling. Anyway, so that was the good game. Now for the other game.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, normally, you know, World Cup openers of the past, you get the one game, and it's not really that exciting. Today was very different. You had a great game to start, great game to finish. You can make the argument no other nation faced as much heat heading into this tournament than France. Les Bleus qualified with Le Handball against Ireland, and over the last few weeks, haven't looked good. Today, the champions from '98 opened up their World Cup campaign against two-time champions, Uruguay. Greenpoint Stadium in Cape Town, South Africa was the stage. Gary Bloom had the call.
Cape Town is open for World Cup business. France against Uruguay. You have to go back to 1970 to find the last time Uruguay won more than a single game at the finals. This is the third time these teams have met in the finals. France have never beaten Uruguay in a finals match. Here's Ribéry, and he's round his marker. Victorino, Ribéry with a cross. Oh, great chance. Sidney Govou beats the turf in frustration, but that's the first real opportunity of the game. Forlan goes to return. It's Forlan, beaten away by Hugo Lloris. Uruguay's first real chance of the game. Anelka just about posted on the penalty spot. Bakary Sagna in there as well, and Abu Diaby. It's up towards Diaby, then goalkeeper had to fist it to safety. South Africa and Mexico drew earlier today, so this group could be wide open. Gourcuff! You can't criticise him for having a go. Sagna's cross. Oh, flick there by Anelka. Maybe not a half chance. And the referee sends the two teams to the dressing room, but they'll have to do better in the second half. Uruguay 0, France 0. Gourcuff. Arivalo. Their attempt on goal by Uruguay. Still 0-0. It's played square though. Ribéry. Player of Franck Ribéry's exquisite talents. Maxi Pereira stands close to the ball, but I'm sure it's Diego Forlan who's going to take this free kick. Thumped in, and the goalkeeper had to hang on to that. Look at this. It's not all friendly in South Africa. Alvaro Pereira to take this long throw. Suarez, Forlan! What a chance for Diego Forlan to break the deadlock. Lodeiro went stamping in, and Lodeiro will get a yellow card. Oh, is he going to reach for another one? He's off. Uruguay's brief now is to keep France out and try grasp a draw. Sagna. Sagna's cross. Goalkeeper's lost it. Henry appeals for handball. Not given. It's all over. It's ended goalless. But Uruguay will be delighted with their point here.
Could have been a handball. You know what? French soccer never gets any breaks. You know? They never catch a break. France continue to sit firmly on the hot seat. They draw with 10-man Uruguay. French manager Raymond Domenech after the match said, quote, "It was frustrating," end quote, and he likely said it in French. So let's now take a look at Group A after the first day of action. Honors even. South Africa and Mexico occupy the first and second spots by virtue of each scoring a goal. That's how the tiebreaker goes there. Up next for the host nation is a date with Uruguay this coming Wednesday. France will then meet Mexico in a mouth-watering affair on Thursday. Christian, the French media have literally had a field day with this team and this manager for the better part of 12 months. And all today did really was add more fuel to that fire.
Yeah, and I guess you're talking more about performance than actual result too, because I mean, many people would say, okay, well, maybe a draw against Uruguay in the opening game isn't too catastrophic for the French. The thing is, though, they didn't liven anybody up. You know, Uruguay basically decided that from the first minute in, well, pretty much after the Govou goal attempt there, once they saw that they could expose them down the flanks, the unrelated Pereira guys who played the wing backs for Uruguay, they just played right and left backs. After that, Uruguay said, okay, 7 men behind the ball, come and try and break us down. And once again, as we've seen in so many warm-up games, even back to Euro 2008, the front three for France weren't clinical enough, and Anelka didn't hold the ball up well enough, and they just don't score enough goals. That's the problem. It's now 6 hours of international football since Nicolas Anelka had a shot on goal.
That's insane.
It's incredible.
And I mean, you mentioned 7-8 men behind the ball for Uruguay, and combine the fact that Luis Suarez was terrible today for Uruguay. So essentially what you have is Diego Forlan by himself, and it's amazing, the Atletico Madrid man, who had such a great end of the year, both in the Europa League and for Atletico, he handled that, James, very well today, I thought. He was on an island.
He's a grafter.
Yeah.
He worked very hard and good for him. However, this is a 2-time European Golden Ball winner. So this guy is a prolific marksman, has done it for Villarreal, Atletico Madrid, and of course, not so much at Man United, of course, but back home he did it for years as well. He's a wonderful, wonderful player, but in that kind of formation, that kind of defensive strategy, he's wasted. It's a real shame. Now, he worked hard, he grafted, unlike Luis Suarez, perhaps, who was maybe a little bit unfortunate as well, but I think at some point, the coach has to look at this group and say, okay, we've got to open it up now. And I'm sure they will against South Africa and Mexico, because that, frankly, was a dreadful game to watch. We're not ones to polish turds in this show, boys. You know that. It got a big point, KJ, but I'm sorry. be aggressive.
But everyone got a point today.
Yeah, I think Tavares got his tactics right. You know, at the end of the day, he looked at what France do. You know, they attack with their wing backs. He took away Sagna and Evra from an attacking point of view. And I think he'll look upon it as think, it's a good point. It's a point gained rather than 2 points lost. And I think, maybe Uruguay may be exposed because they don't have too much going forward, and Suarez and Forlan were somewhat on islands. But I think it's a point. You forget that game and you move on. You've just got to get on and move on to the next game.
It does show how tactical international football is.
Right.
Even more so than club football. And that's, I guess, what we're seeing so far. But one good game, one awful game, 3 great games tomorrow, including the big one, USA against England. And of course, a lot of history here, in particular, Wayne Rooney, Tim Howard, former teammates. The Roon has been wonderful this past season, and as he goes, so do England.
Tries the gap. Oh, and he's forced a goal. How do you contain him? Fabulous finish by Rooney.
Rooney! That was class.
Yet another goal for Wayne Rooney.
The Scores coverage of FIFA World Cup tonight is presented to you by Budweiser, official beer sponsor of the 2010 FIFA World Cup.
You want to swap?
Sure.
Budweiser, official beer sponsor of the 2010 FIFA World Cup.
Di Serono Cola. Di Serono and Cola. 1 part Di Serono. 3 parts Cola. Di Serono. Open to possibilities.
Through the years, many things pass from father to son, like Aquavelva Aftershave. Smells great, cools, tones, and energizes. Cool. Aquavelva, men get it. Wake up your whiskers with Electric Shave.
Electric Shave!
Stands up whiskers for an up to 52% closer shave.
Man, that was close.
Electric Shave. Blade close. Electric smooth.
I want to talk about this guy. He was like some sort of secret agent or something. Next thing you know, I'm in Grand Theft Auto on the I-93.
Hey, June, it's a beautiful dress.
No.
Hi, June.
Who are you? This is the guy.
I'm the guy. The guy. I'm the guy.
Night and day.
I know this looks bad, but we'll be out of here in a couple of minutes. I got this.
We call it super slow motion video. You call it fixing my swing. Canon PowerShot. It's time to imagine what you can do with super slow motion.
It's my new auto hammer. It's got this magnetic head and retractable nail sleeve. It's perfect for spots that are too tight to swing a hammer in, but it wasn't always this easy. Son of a... And the best part? Already paid for half of it.
Make the most of your backyard with the Auto Hammer, part of the family of 12-volt compact tools, only at Canadian Tire.
I'm coughing, thinking you might need aid.
I own you now.
It ain't much for being owned.
Jonah Hex starts June 18th.
Drive the dream from partypoker.net, where you can steer your way to winning your very own Aston Martin DB9. It's free to enter too. So play Drive the Dream now, exclusively at partypoker.net.
Don't do this, Turnbull, please.
It is a story as old as time.
Jonah Hex.
The story of revenge.
Hey, Hex, what happened to your face?
Ongoing rivalry.
Cut myself shaving, what happened to yours?
And the high-stakes battle between the Yankees and the Red Sox. To celebrate the release of Jonah Hex, The Score is giving you a chance to witness one of the biggest rivalries in baseball. To enter, go to thescore.com. Jonah Hex, in theaters June 18th.
Well, welcome back to FIFA World Cup tonight. Coming up, we'll take a look at the big Day 2 games, but let's catch you up with some news and notes first. And Italy say it will be without midfielder Andrea Pirlo for their first 2 games of the World Cup against Paraguay and New Zealand as he recovers from a calf injury suffered last week in a friendly against Mexico, and there are still fears he could miss more than that. Meanwhile, Daniele De Rossi is another Azzurri midfielder in trouble. He missed a friendly match against the Guatang All-Stars on Friday, also with a calf injury. Both men are key for the world champions. In other news, Didier Drogba practiced with his Ivory Coast teammates today wearing a protective cast, but remains doubtful for the team's opener against Portugal because of a broken arm. Drogba picked up the injury during an international friendly against Japan last Friday. Arjen Robben, meanwhile, is set to rejoin his Dutch teammates on Saturday. Netherlands coach Bert van Marwijk said Robben's recovery from a hamstring injury is going well, but his status for Monday's opener against Denmark remains up in the air. Tim Cahill has declared himself fit to play against the Germans on Sunday. The Everton midfielder says he's recovered from a neck injury in time and had a full training session with his Aussie teammates on Thursday. For all the latest news, download our latest mobile app, Score Mobile FC. It's the best in the business for all your footy needs, and it's all shiny and new as well. Now, all day long we've been pumping out content on thescore.com, including our daily World Cup vodcast. And Brendan Dunlop, who's also hosting the Hardcore Footy Show South Africa 2010 on Hardcore Sports Radio, Sirius Channel 98, has been perusing the blog and has picked a few comments of particular interest. B, what is the feeling out there after day 1?
Well, guys, a lot of excitement, of course, as the tournament finally did begin. Most of the viewers pulling for South Africa today, and everyone seems to agree that Kune's stellar goalkeeping is the reason the hosts earned a draw. Jean-Pierre says that brutal defending makes for a great match. That's exactly what we got in the first one. He hopes for the same tomorrow. Eskel says that Shabalala's goal could not have been any better. It's going to be a highlight reel one we'll see for years. And some chat about Mexico's disallowed goal. Kevin Smith says there was a guy standing on the goal line, so one would assume that he was onside. But perhaps he's not fully aware of the rules, but you guys are, so tell us.
Shall we, fellas? Because we're so educated and intelligent
we
in the ways
know
of
the
football.
rules.
Well, it was
Allegedly.
confusing, right? But the official rule says a player is offside if he is nearer to his opponent's goal line than the ball and the second last opponent. The last opponent typically being the goalkeeper, but in this case it was Steven Pienaar, the guy with the funny hair there, on the goal line. Now, it was the right call, correct, Christian? A very frustrating rule, though, certainly if you're a Mexican player right now.
Well, yeah, of course, but everyone was aware of the rule, even the Mexicans who were basically trying to get away with it there. The one thing I will say is that South Africa were extremely fortunate here with this call because the rule was put in place to try and stop the defenders from negating the attackers. It wasn't put in place for some crazy goalkeeper to come running off his line, try and punch the ball and miss it, and then suddenly get benefited by the rule. So they were extremely fortunate, but if a team deserves fortunate, breaks on the day 1, why not South Africa?
And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that won't be the last controversial offside call we see at this tournament. It's one of the special things about a World Cup.
That's right.
Do you think we might need some, video replay, maybe some extra officials at some point, boys?
No.
I mean, we're going to see some controversy, some scandalous calls.
It's Sepp Blatter's game. It's not coming.
Did you see him this morning, by the way?
I tried not to.
Okay, in the opening ceremony, Sepp Blatter, the iconic figure that he is, tries to steal the show from all of South Africa.
Are you saying the FIFA president tried to steal the show?
I know.
He never does that.
It's
Ever.
insane.
It's insane.
Anyway, boys, hopefully no controversy tomorrow, but there are some big games tomorrow. In fact, 3 huge games starting on day 2 of the World Cup, South Africa 2010. How about this one? England, USA, rather big. Argentina, Nigeria. Diego Maradona making his debut as a World Cup coach. Not a bad World Cup player. And of course, Korea up against Greece. It doesn't sound too sexy, but it's definitely worth getting up for, if you ask me. It could be a good game, and I love my Greek team. You know that, right? You know that. Anyway, we'll get to the early day 2 games later in the show, but right now let's take a look at some of the most highly anticipated opening matches with England, the Glory Boys, the big names in the sexy league up against the USA, the upstarts, the pretenders, and maybe the next big thing. Well, maybe not. Still a good game, this one. England, great in qualifying, scoring 34 goals in 10 games, but of course they haven't won the World Cup for a very long time. Before I was born, before KJ was born, and almost before Sid there was born. As for the States, I'm joking, Sid, sorry. As for the States, perennial World Cup appearances for them, but their best result was a 3rd place, which was fantastic, back in 1930.
The Scores coverage of FIFA World Cup Tonight preview is brought to you by Kia, the power to surprise.
Let's start at the beginning. Once before have these two teams met at a World Cup. back in 1950, where one of the greatest shocks in tournament history took place. The Americans stunned the football world by beating the Three Lions 1-0, and England would fail to qualify for the final round. Skip ahead 60 years to the present day. If you're wondering why the American shirt has their often criticised stripe down the front, look no further than the 1950 shirt they wore when they beat England. Today's Americans look to do the same in South Africa and come in with much greater pedigree this time. 8 Americans played in the English Premier League this past season. Players like Fulham's Clint Dempsey, who helped guide his side to an improbable berth in the Europa League final, and Landon Donovan, whose loan spell at Everton was a tremendous success alongside fellow compatriot and Premier League veteran and goalkeeper Tim Howard. Howard knows his English players well, having spent time at Manchester United playing alongside names such as Wayne Rooney, so he'll be prepared. Discipline will be key for England, and the US certainly have all the ability to pull off an upset. This match is one you just can't miss.
It is a massive, massive game. CBC's coverage begins at 2 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. England against the U.S. Coming up, our own Christian Jack has his own very unique take at that matchup. Trust me, you want to see this. Also after the break, we'll relive the goal that shook South Africa to its very core earlier today. We're off and running. FIFA World Cup Tonight on The Score continues after this.
The Score's coverage of FIFA World Cup Tonight is presented to you by Kia, the power to surprise.
It's about performance, passion, and soul. Kia, official FIFA partner.
Get caliente with fever.
Lame. Oh. Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Racing's not about winning, it's about making friends.
Shut it, Pinky.
Blur, race like a big boy. Rated every 110 and up. Gaming system sold separately.
Now on Blu-ray and DVD, the government's most powerful weapon.
Come to daddy.
Is a loose cannon.
Am I right, brother?
The coolest Travolta since Pulp Fiction. John Travolta.